Hi, everybody. It's Max from PaperGold and Common Ground Finds with our introductory PaperGold member win. Today, we are talking to Mike, and Mike is going to talk to us about a book that he sold recently. And we're going to talk a little bit about the history of sourcing, pricing, and any other thing that comes up with the meaning of this book. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about the book that you sold, the title, and whatnot, and the price, and then we'll get into digging in a little bit.
Yeah, well, just I guess for context, I saw a listing for an estate sale, and it was described as an old mill building that had been used as a warehouse for decades. Apparently, multiple businesses had been in and out of this space, left stuff behind, and then a collector bought the building, and he apparently just collected and collected for decades, never sold anything, and was kind of a hoarder, and so the whole place was just packed with all kinds of random stuff, furniture and tools and books, and it was 40,000 square feet, two
A
floor,
40,000 square foot mansion is what you're talking about then.
two
Yeah.
buildings, 2 floors of 2 buildings,
Okay.
complete chaos. No way. I don't know how he could have found anything he ever bought. Uh, just boxes on top of other boxes on with clothes on top of that. And it was also 90-degree humidity. I had forgotten to bring anything to drink. I was there for 4 or 5 hours, dehydrated. And the books and the boxes were very dusty and dirty, and when I dig inside some of them, insects would scurry out of the books. It was
Were they
really
in every were the boxes in every room?
the books were, I don't know, maybe half the rooms had books
Okay.
in. Yeah.
So
um,
20,000 square feet of book hunting.
yeah, exactly. Um, and so it was, yeah, kind of a miserable experience being there, but I was persistent. And among the books I stumbled across was what looked like an old copy of the novel Watership Down, Richard Adams, which I had read as a kid, and it had the dust jacket and looked like it could be an older book. So I thought, oh, could be a first edition. So I opened it up, checked the copyright page, and looked online. Okay, it looks like it's first edition. Great. And I looked at the pricing. I
And
thought,
you did that on site
yeah,
while the book is in your hand.
yep, just using the
Okay.
eBay. And I thought that's a great win, first edition, and I set it aside, but and I thought maybe I'll ask a couple $100, and but I got, like, at the time it was one of 90 books that I got, all sorts of mostly vintage and antique books.
Mhm.
And so it stood out as valuable, but not necessarily hugely valuable. And then I brought it home, and the next day I was listing it. I was going to list it for sale, and I was photographing it for the listing. And I opened to the title page, realized it is signed by the author, and my jaw dropped, and I thought, oh my God. And I was suddenly afraid to touch it.
Right.
Uh, and
What
so,
you've stumbled upon for a lot of collectors of modern first editions is now a holy grail.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I looked up signatures of other, or images of signatures of other signed books, looked very similar, and looked up what other people were pricing them at, and I aimed mine slightly below that because I wanted to just move it and move on and income, and it sold in 6 days for $950. And
$950. And I know you bought 90 books at this sale. Did you pay $1 a book? Is that what you paid?
yeah, that's what it basically, they were pricing by the bag. So you could buy $50 per bag, whatever you fit in. If you average it out, it was about $1 per book. So
Why? And you didn't call your friend Max to come up to Connecticut and see you and go hunting with you that day?
I did not. But so yeah, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. And the seller, or the buyer, followed up with some positive comments later, and one of the things he said was nice price. So 950 was a good deal. So
And I want to get into a little bit of the logistics here. Was what city was this in?
so this was in a town called Coventry, Connecticut. So it was a
Coventry.
bit
Okay.
out of the way.
Okay.
Um,
And how do you ship a $950 book?
well, I think I originally had it on medium mail, and then I realized that doesn't make any sense. Switched it to first class, and added insurance and
Sure.
wrap and bubble wrap, and I
Mhm.
ship all my books in
Right.
boxes. and I state that in my policies, that I, ship things securely, carefully in boxes, but people
And
appreciate it.
any other wins from those other 89 books for $1 or less than $1 a piece?
Well, I frankly, most of it I haven't had time to list or thoroughly research, but there was a multi-volume 19th century set of Waverley novels, and there was some old medical books, including a 1844 anatomy book that I just listed for, I think, 240 or so. It's sold for something like that previously. Some old history books. A lot of what was there was junk and not terribly valuable. I don't think he was the
Right.
most collector, but he did find a lot of valuable
Yeah,
stuff.
without saying too much personally about him, if you know something, I mean, did he have an interest in something he collected, or was he just buying out storage lockers, or what was his thing?
I don't know how he sourced or what.
Mhm.
It seemed to be a lot of history and a lot of primarily vintage antiquarian stuff.
Right, but somewhere along the line, for him to have a signed Watership down, you're not finding that at a used bookstore for $3. I mean, he must have been. I'm guessing he must have purchased that for a full price
Mhm.
from a book dealer somewhere along the line.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I went back actually on a later week because there was so much stuff
Mhm.
that's still ongoing. That I spent 6 hours going through all the rooms, and that was not because I was slow. It was so huge. That's how long
Right.
it took through all the boxes and all the books. I didn't find any more signed books, but I still got 58 more books that I had apparently passed over.
The first time.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
All
so
right.
so I think my lessons learned were, this, I should say, one, this was the second day of the estate sale.
Mhm.
But not only that, I learned later that multiple dealers had been invited in months before these estate sales to poke around.
So
They all,
okay, so let me highlight what you're saying here. Let me just put a highlighter through that. Mike didn't go on day one, or if he went on day one, he didn't find the book. He found the book on day two. Previous buyers and booksellers and hunters were there and missed the book. So you did your due diligence. You scouted, even though you didn't know it was signed from the get-go, you know you had a first edition, and the signature was the cherry on top once you realize that. And then the book took less than 1 week to sell, and you went from 50 cents a book to $950 of a
yeah,
sold price with
yeah.
150 more books to go. It's amazing. Any advice you give to people who are learning the business, trying to do what you're doing? We all have that fantasy in our head. We want to find expensive books. So any advice you want to give to anybody, since you've lived the dream?
Yeah, I think one, don't assume that there's nothing valuable left on the second or even
Mhm.
third estate sale. I've found last week I found a potentially $1,000 set on a third day of an estate
Well,
sale.
don't ruin the next time I'm going to talk to you.
And if stuff is hard to find, if it's messy, disorganized,
Right,
to dig through boxes, if it's dirty, if it's dimly lit, if it's in a small town away from urban centers, those are all good signs
right,
to discourage other people from poking around
right.
and so if you can be thorough and patient, able to find
Now,
some.
are you one of those people who, I say this all the time, the books are everywhere. Do you believe this as well?
I'm coming to believe that, yes.
Okay.
Or at least they're everywhere in estate sales, I find.
Yes, yeah. Estate sales tend to be very good places to purchase valuable books, and even, secondary valuable books. I mean, if you can find books for $1 that you can sell for 25, 30, $40, you can make a living doing that all the time too. So it doesn't always have to be $1,000 book to make a win, but it does make a great video.
And the last lesson is always brings a small flashlight to estate sales.
That's a very good point. Yeah. Because you don't know if they paid electricity bill and you're getting dimly lit sunrooms in
And
there.
Yeah, nitrile gloves, the kind of used for painting, because you will eventually need them. So
Beautiful. And how long, my last question, how long have you been in the Paper Gold group?
I don't know, a couple of months, I
Couple
think.
months, I think.
Yeah, not too
Yeah,
long.
I think 3 months.
Well, I've only been selling for about 3 months, so
Right.
yeah.
Amazing. What a great story. I thank you for allowing us the opportunity to do this for the first time with one of our members. And I look forward to doing this again when that $1,000 set sells.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Mike.